Exactly 120 years ago, a random company by the name Wilsdorf and Davis was founded. Their goal was to import high-quality Swiss watch movements, place them in a British watch, and sell them to jewelers. Little did they know that over 120 years later, they would be the most known watch brand of all time. But how did they get there? Well, stick around to the end to find out. The story begins in the early 20th century, when pocket watches reigned supreme and wristwatches were dismissed as fragile trinkets. In fact, so skeptical were gentlemen of the era that many declared they would sooner wear a skirt than a wristwatch. But Hans Wilsdorf enters the room, a young German entrepreneur with an audacious vision. In 1905, at just 24 years old, Wilsdorf partnered with his brother-in-law Alfred Davis to found a London-based watchmaking firm called Wilsdorf and Davis. Their business plan was simple but shrewd: import high-quality Swiss movements and place them in elegant British-made cases. These early watches were then sold to jewelers, who often rebranded them with W&D discreetly stamped inside the caseback as the only clue of their origin. Wilsdorf dreamed of creating his own brand, one that would be easy to pronounce in any language, short enough to fit on a watch style, and memorable. In 1908, he coined the name Rolex, which he felt was amazing. That year, the trademark Rolex was officially registered, and by 1915, the company had formally changed its name to the Rolex Watch Co. Ltd. The move signaled Wilsdorf's ambition to establish Rolex as a standalone mark of quality. By the end of World War I, Wilsdorf had relocated the company to Switzerland to dodge heavy British wartime taxes and be closer to Switzerland's watchmaking industry. With a solid foundation of quality and a growing name, Rolex was poised for its next breakthrough, one that would literally make a splash around the world. By the 1920s, one of the biggest challenges in watchmaking was protecting the delicate movement from dust and moisture. Wilsdorf set his sights on making a wristwatch that could survive daily wear in all conditions, a reliable companion for every day, everywhere. In 1926, Rolex unveiled the Oyster, a watch that would become the stuff of legend. The Rolex Oyster featured a revolutionary hermetically sealed case with a screw-down bezel, caseback, and winding crown that locked out water and dirt. This unique design created the world's first truly waterproof and dustproof wristwatch. It was a game changer. At last, a watch could be worn while swimming, bathing, or in a rainstorm without concern. And Rolex's next innovation tackled another inconvenience of early wristwatches: the need for frequent winding. In 1931, Rolex invented and patented the perpetual rotor, a semicircular oscillating weight inside the watch that swings with the wearer's arm movements, automatically winding the mainspring. This was the birth of the modern self-winding wristwatch, and earlier attempts at automatic watches existed, but Rolex's design, a free-spinning rotor that could wind in both directions, was especially efficient. The Oyster watch combined with this self-winding mechanism was dubbed the Oyster Perpetual, a name that endures on Rolex dials to this day. But with the world emerging from World War II, the late 1940s and 1950s saw an explosion in technological progress and global exploration, and Rolex was at the forefront, crafting watches tailored to those exciting times. But in 1945, to celebrate its 40th anniversary, Rolex introduced the Datejust, a model that embodied the marriage of elegance and innovation. The Oyster Perpetual Datejust was the first self-winding, waterproof wristwatch chronometer to display the date in a window on the dial, automatically changing itself at midnight. This might seem common now, but in the mid-1940s it was a game changer. Suddenly, the watch did more than tell time. It kept you aware of the date without sacrificing durability or accuracy. In the year 1953, another legend was born beneath the waves. Scuba diving was growing in popularity in the early 1950s and spurred by pioneers like Jacques Cousteau exploring the undersea world. Rolex recognized the need for a watch that could accompany divers into the deep. The result was the Rolex Submariner, launched in 1953 and unveiled to the public in 1954 at the Basel Watch Fair. It was the first dive watch waterproof to 100 meters, an unprecedented depth rating at the time, and it was equipped with a rotating time bezel to track dive duration and large luminous Mercedes hands and hour markers for underwater legibility. The Submariner quickly set the standard for dive watches. But after the Submariner comes the GMT Master. As humanity explored high and low, we also shrank the globe via faster air travel. By the mid-1950s, the dawn of the jet age meant passengers could fly across multiple time zones in a single journey, a new challenge for keeping track of time. In 1954, Rolex answered the call of the skies with the GMT Master, This watch was developed at the request of Pan American World Airways, the era's leading airline, which needed a reliable timepiece for its pilots and navigators to track dual time zones on transcontinental flights. Rolex's solution was elegant and effective. The GMT Master featured an additional 24-hour hand and a rotating 24-hour bezel. The wearer could set the extra hand to any time zone and use the bezel to read a second time zone. Most striking was the GMT Master's bezel itself, colored half blue and half red on the original model, a now famous Pepsi color scheme, with one color for daytime hours and the other for nighttime. This bold look made the GMT Master stand out, and it soon became the official watch of Pan Am pilots, and was also adopted by military and commercial aviators who appreciated its robust build and utility. But just a couple years later, in 1956, Rolex introduced a pinnacle of elegant watchmaking, the Rolex Day-Date. This model, available only in 18-karat gold or platinum, was the first watch to display both the date and the day of the week spelled out in full on the dial. With its twin calendar windows, the Day-Date was as practical as it was opulent. Rolex paired it with a specially designed gold bracelet with semicircular links, soon known as the President Bracelet. It didn't take long for the Day-Date itself to earn the nickname the Presidential. But another crucial model of Rolex is the Cosmograph Daytona. In the mid-20th century, Rolex also set its sights on auto racing, the sport of speed and glamour. While Rolex had offered chronograph models before, in 1963, they launched a new generation chronograph under the model name Cosmograph, which soon earned the nickname Daytona. The name came from the famous Daytona International Speedway in Florida, home to endurance races and land speed record attempts, including those by earlier Rolex wearing racers like Sir Malcolm Campbell in the 1930s. The Rolex Cosmograph Daytona was designed as the ultimate timing tool for racing drivers. A tough, waterproof chronograph with a tachymeter scale on the bezel for calculating average speed. Its dial had contrasting subdials that were highly legible, and the watch's style was sporty yet unmistakably luxurious. Initially, believe it or not, the Daytona wasn't a huge seller. Chronograph watches were somewhat niche in the 1960s, but its fortunes would dramatically turn in the decades to follow. Thanks in part to a Hollywood legend, in the 1970s, actor and racing enthusiast Paul Newman was often seen wearing his personal Daytona. Years later, that association would explode the watch's collectability. The ultimate proof came in 2017, when Paul Newman's own Daytona was auctioned and sold for $17.75 million, setting a world record for a wristwatch at the time. A Rolex model that once languished in jewelry cases became one of the most sought-after collector pieces on earth. Truly a testament to the enduring allure of the brand. But before the 1960s closed, Rolex introduced one more technical marvel, the Rolex Sea Dweller in 1967. While the Submariner was already the king of recreational dive watches, deep sea exploration was advancing such that divers using new saturation diving techniques lived for days in pressurized habitats breathing gas mixtures. And a huge problem arose with this. Helium gas used in those mixtures would seep into watches under pressure, and during decompression, the trapped helium could pop the crystal of the watch. By the end of the 1960s, Rolex had created an astonishing amount of legendary models. Datejust, Explorer, Submariner, GMT Master, Day-Date, Daytona, Sea Dweller, and even more. But let's skip all the way into the 21st century. Rolex found itself not just a watch company, but a cultural phenomenon. The brand's long history of innovation and marketing had compounded into a reputation that is unparalleled in the watch world. Even as it produces relatively large numbers of watches, demand far outstrips supply. The company, still owned by the Hans Willdorf Foundation, guards its independence and secrets closely. It doesn't publish financials, yet analysts estimate Rolex's sales to be astronomical for a luxury manufacturer. For instance, in 2022, Rolex was estimated to have generated over $13 billion in sales with about 1.05 million watches produced. This makes Rolex the leading luxury watchmaker in the world by far. But despite this volume, if you walk into a Rolex authorized dealer today, you're unlikely to find popular steel sports models in stock, most having long waiting lists. Rolex has kept a tight control on distribution, and as noted by industry observers, official waiting lists for new models help maintain an image of exclusivity and high demand. Also, fun fact, Rolex is apparently a non-profit organization. So apparently they don't make profit on any of their watches, which I kind of doubt. I'm not sure if they're lying or not, but it doesn't matter anyways because I'll still buy the watch. But after over 120 years, Rolex has created an empire of people looking for their watches and buying them. Even for over 50% of Rolex's watches, the secondary market price on them is much higher than the retail price, showing the true demand of Rolexes. Although, if you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. It's very easy and it's free, and YouTube really thinks you're gonna like the video that's gonna pop up, so click on it. Thank you for watching and have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.